Gotta think you're ready for this jelly. Gotta think you're ready for and my body too for this
It's
just
just for you,
baby.
babe.
I will be.
Love it.
I'll twerk when I'm 400 pounds and 80. I'm telling you. Okay. So
Love it.
welcome to Penn Strong Podcast, where we interview Canada's top strength female athletes. I should make that into a song, you guys.
I
Amateur to
love it.
pro strength athletes. And we do this to empower women across Canada and beyond to train and compete for strength sports. The manly things, yes. So I'm Stephanie A, aka Stick Stephanie, Fantastic the Dancer. Why? Because I'm fantastical and fantastical. I'm a dance and fitness educator from Manitoba, and I'm current third in Manitoba, strongman and Scotch heavy games athlete. And so I like to throw things when I get angry and lift things when I'm somewhat angry. Either way, there's things being moved around. So today's episode is all about overcoming challenges. You know, things in life that make you go, ugh, ugh, or, make you want to eat cheesy cake. Yeah, and today's guest is the amazing Stephanie B in the house. Hey, two Stephanies, we're gonna take over the world, y'all. So, anyways, how do you see? I'm around my son too much. Boop 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 boop. Anyways,
I love
so
it.
how do you say your last name? I feel like it's very Italiano.
It is, but I just go with Bisignano. I know some people throw the Italian like Bisignano flair into it, but Bisignano.
I feel like that should be on a bottle of olive oil, or like a name, and like the commercial for the restaurant would be like your last name would be the name of the restaurant, and then the commercial would be like, "Join us today at," and then they'd talk about pasta, and there'd be like pasta in the commercial. Ooh, making myself hungry.
I'd have my little Nona there. She'd be the star of the show.
Nonna, the mozzarella, the pepperoni.
Baba da boopy, eh?
Get the
I watch
parmesan,
Family Guy. Baba da boopy. Oh, love it. Love it.
That's Cinderella. At a kazoo, a dippity doo, a bippity boppity boo.
Love it.
Put it together. What have you got? Bippity boppity boo. So, anyways, you can follow her on IG at
Stephanie Biz Strong _.
Yeah, you got to spell that right now. I'm just kidding. I'm gonna put it on the screen. Don't worry about it.
Perfect.
Just follow us on our IG and TikTok, and you'll follow her, find her. Anyways, and so yeah, thank you, sexy pandas, for tuning in today. Listen to the end for exciting news, tips, and her real life story of how she entered Strongman. Yeah, so thanks, Steph, for being on the show today. Now,
thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. You're so beautiful. The world needs to see your face tonight. You might get a lot of messages in your DM from our male listeners. Hey, girl, you single? Hi, what are you doing? Can you make me some meatballs? Oh, you should be like, how big's your meatball?
Yeah. What you back in there? You got some saucisse in there? Or just kidding.
Hey, is that a salami?
I follow this guy that does these like Italian videos, and he pretends to be Uncle Vinny and Uncle Vinny and Zia Lucia. And there's one where they talk about all these Italian pickup lines. Oh, I was dying. I showed it to my dad. I'm like, Dad, because he's from Italy, so it was great.
Whenever I think of Italians, I always think of like two things, like the Seinfeld show when he's like, "No soup for you," and then the Friends with his sisters, and then Chandler sleeps with one of his sisters, and he can't figure out which one.
So good.
I just think of that. And Lady the Tramp with the spaghetti and the meatball scene.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
So cute. So cute.
Honestly, though, if I went to Italy, I'd get knocked up. I'd have like 4 babies. Like,
little Italianos running around.
Those lies, yeah. Italiano. Man, Mamma mia. My sons would have so much swagger. Like, oh, man, they'd have a waiting list, you know, for be studying in a resume, you know. See, this
Yep,
is
yep.
why I knew that. And I was like, listen, my womb is not ready for that type of commitment. So that's why I got myself a basic vanilla white boy, you know, because I knew he'd want two and that's it. And I'd be like, get off me, leave me alone.
Yeah. I love it.
So we're going to play a little game, which we've never done before on the show. And I just, you guys know, I didn't prep her for this. So she didn't consent to this. So I might get sued. But anyways, don't sue me. Okay. I'm cute. So anyways, and he signed a contract. So anyways.
True.
Kidding.
Accurate.
Accurate. Facts. Okay. So I'm going to say a word. And then you say a word in response to what it makes you think of. Okay. So just like how we did now. Okay. So we're going to continue on with that. But it's going to be related to strongman and our sports, just fitness, just things. Okay. Health. All right.
Okay.
Okay. And try to make it funny. And we'll see if we can tell a story. All right. And we have to do it in exactly 60 seconds. And I'm going to stare at my tiny clock and try to stay on time. Okay. All right. Okay. Supplements.
Popeyes.
Yes. You read Popeyes. Celery.
Peanut butter. I put peanut butter in my celery.
Oh, cheese whiz. You know, we're from the 90s. Oh, yes. Mom puts the raisins on top, but maybe that's too vanilla, white girl. Okay. Broccoli.
Delicious.
Yes.
Ooh,
butter sauce in macaroni.
Oh God.
You're Italian. Come on.
I know. I'm thinking.
I got one already.
Meatballs.
Sausages.
Meatballs.
I like a man with big sausage and meatballs. Okay, let's stop it there before we get too far. All right. So anyways, thanks again for being on our show today. Like I said, if you guys want to figure out more about our lovely guest, pop on our website, bio, her links, and everything about all the awesome things she does will be on there. So our amazing woman here has many strengths and talents. And she's actually a pro strong woman. So if anybody here listening today doesn't know what strong woman is, it's still technically called strongman, even though she was changed. She's from Thunder Bay, Ontario. And she's an Iron Rebel and Popeye's rep. And she's a middleweight competitor who competes as a heavyweight because she's a boss ass bitch. You know what I mean? I really want to dance right now to that song. And okay, so she kicks my ass with motivation because I was really proud of my yoke. Guys, she does a 660-pound yoke walk, 40 feet. So don't fuck around, okay? Those meatballs and spaghetti, they're playing.
Those are my superpowers, okay? That's my secret weapon. Maybe I should have said that for supplements.
Yeah. Superpowers! I want to take a supplement. I'm like, no, sleep and cheat. You know what I mean? Because that's what I do all day. Everyone's like, how do you do what you do, Stephanie? Supplements. An empty wallet. She's also a personal trainer and Pilates instructor. God. Which is kind of unique because usually Pilates girls, they're like the dancing, swimming, walking type, running type, white moms from the suburbs. That's what I always think of when I think of Pilates.
Yeah.
Because I'm like the only strong man in my area. Like it's all like I said, Pilates, skinny girls. They just run by my house really fast in the morning. And I'm like, ow, my knees hurt just watching you.
Yeah. Is something chasing you? Are you okay? Do you need assistance?
I'll call 911 for you, girl. Get my badge.
You're doing that for fun? Oh, okay.
Because like I did that in shit when I was trying to, trap a hoe. But I trapped my hoe. I don't need to run no more. What the hell are you doing? They still tap that ass? Men be desperate after a certain age. Anyway. Okay, so today we're going to talk about her story. And so a little sidebar here. So she started training for strongman back in 2015. And she used to be like a thicker panda, right? And then she did the exercises and now is smashing gains and taking names. So on that note, what did you have to do to change, about yourself? What did you do with your mental processes? Because I'm sure there's more than one, to transform your body physically to become a pro strongman. Walk us through.
Oh,
Walk us through
geez.
2015 and 2020, girl. Because I mean, you became the Pilates, a personal trainer, right? Instructor. But that it didn't start that way, all right? So let's walk us through. How'd you get there?
Oh, geez. It's a lot. Well, when I was first born, just kidding, just kidding.
Oh my
Start
God,
way
we
back
for
then.
that shit.
No. So, well, with Pilates, I've been teaching Pilates for going on 9 years now, actually. My stepmom owns a Pilates studio and she was running the certification for new trainers and stuff and flew the people up from Toronto. So I was like, sounds fun. I love taking the classes. I might as well. So that's how I started all that. But then over it was over time. It was just I had a lot of like I've always been extremely like self-conscious and different things like that. Like I was always such a little like tomboy growing up and I hung out with a lot of like skinny friends that were like the pretty girls and everything
Yeah.
and I was always one of the boys and they're all trying to flirt and impress the boys and I was just like hanging out with the boys and one of the boys all the
I
time.
was I was like, hey, could I shoot a BB gun at you? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like they would have the boys would be skateboarding and they would do the, oh, teach me. Oh, I'm falling on you. You have to hold me. And then I'd have the skateboard like, no, I got this. No, don't touch me. I'm like down on the ground. I'll get up. I'm good. I got this again.
Don't
Um,
touch me.
yeah, but I
There's a
was
lot
always
as a
like,
kid.
yeah, but
Hunting boys with pigtails on, you know.
but I was always really like, and then grew up like self-conscious. I always kind of fluctuated in my weight. I was into sports a lot when I was younger, but then I kind of fell off the track with everything, got into a lot of partying and over partying and
With the
changing my
skater
life.
boy?
Pardon?
With the skater boy?
And then I said, see you later, boy. Just kidding.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got really into like, yeah, I kind of stopped like the physical aspect for partying and stuff. And then my self-esteem was just dwindling and going down. And I was like hard on the way that I looked. I was hard on not really having a passion, not really like even after like I was excelled in school and went to university right after, but dropped out within my first year because I was consumed with everything else. It wasn't what I wanted to do anymore. Spent a few years just working full time, not seeing like a life path or a future or anything like that. And I finally got back on track, went to school for child and youth work, graduated, I'm working, but I was still missing that piece. Like I just couldn't see myself just kind of living that normal basic life. Like I wanted something more, something exciting. And a friend of mine was training with Kyle Rayner, who's a pro strongman that lives here locally. He's a gym owner and now like one of my best friends. And Kyle, we call him Gym Dad. So he puts up with all of us. I personally
Aw.
I'm a trainer at his gym and we're all his children. It's great. Poor guy. He shaved his head and I tell him that we're the reason that he went bald. Just saying. But he started training her and she had this tremendous weight loss journey and stuff. I'm like, you know what? Like I need to do something for myself. So as soon as I graduated college and landed a full-time position in my field, I just messaged him the day that I got the call. I'm like, I need to start something. I need to do something for myself. I enjoyed being physically active before. I need this. So I messaged him and he took me on. He had one more spot for a client. And so we started the weight loss thing. And I can still remember because my first session was basically, he didn't tell me until the end of it, but I wanted to see how far you're willing to push yourself. It was freaking grueling. Like I had never squatted an empty bar prior to training with him. And we talk about that because my squat's now gone up to 405 pounds. But at the time I had never squatted an empty bar, so it was hilarious. But he did more like the conditioning stuff and he threw me to the wolves. And I remember like at one point I went to the bathroom and I'm like, I'm not cut out for this. I can't do this. What the hell did I get myself into? But then I was like, you know what? No, like you prepaid for sessions, like you want to do this, like shut the fuck up and get back out there basically and push myself to do it. And every session, like there were some that, and then he said, he's like, you didn't quit. You had no quit in you. I'm very impressed by that. This is what I did. Next week we're gonna like start from the basics, but I know that you're committed and you're serious about this. And I just continued doing that. And we did a lot of like weight training elements in the weight loss, because everyone always thinks it has to be cardio, it has to be this, it has to be that for weight loss. But it was deadlifting and squatting and big compound movement patterns. And as like we know the benefits of that now, and instead of thinking, oh, it's going to be a big built bulky murmur, no, it has other benefits. So we started training, and every time I had that setback of like, I can't do this, I'm like, no, like I can. I'm stubborn for one. I've committed myself to this. I'm not stopping. And then I started really enjoying like the weight training. I loved when he would say like, that's a new deadlift PR. And I'm like, what? What's that? What does that mean? He's like, it's a personal record for you.
Yeah,
like, you've never done that.
Learn like the terms and shit. Like when I
Yeah.
first started training for strongman, I was like, what do all these words mean? And then I had to like memorize the movements from videos and books and like the names. And I was like, this is a lot of words.
Oh, I was so spoiled by having him as like my PT and my coach that I'd go in and do a workout on my own. I'd be like, Kyle, which bar is the 45 and which one's the 35? Like they don't have anything written on the caps.
Like I would have to stare the shit out of things. I had to memorize where things were. So when I like came to the gym, they moved things. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah. And we had all kilo plates too. So I'm like, say what? Like I couldn't count the plates. Like, kilos. I don't get it.
Yeah. Like first gym I went to was same thing, like because it was a regular gym. So then when I went like to like a normal gym, like the lifters, and I'd ask them to clarify the weights, they'd be like dumbass, like you stupid question. I was like, I don't fucking know. I've been working. Why are we kgs, dumbass?
I love it.
You find an odd like row kg plate in your gym, like what the fuck is this?
Yeah, what does that mean? But yeah, like it. So it started just. I started getting so interested in thinking like, oh, like, fuck yeah, that's cool. And like, I was losing the weight and I saw it coming off and we were really successful on that. But then I just get so excited when he'd say like, we're deadlifting, we're overhead pressing. I'm going to teach you how to bench press. And I would get so excited to learn these things. And then I would eye up the strongman equipment, but hadn't really like Thunder Bay is pretty big for like we have a pretty big strongman community right now. It dwindled off for a couple of years, but prior to that, like it was huge. Like we hosted Ontario's Strongest Man, and like we would have Thunder Bay's Strongest at the Wayland Bar and Grill, which is like my favorite little dive bar in Westfort with the best food ever. And they would have it outside of there. They'd have like a live band, and there'd be like people of all ages, like just such a huge crowd. I remember when I went, it was like the sun was shining, everyone's having patio drinks, there's a band, there's strong man, strong woman. Like it was just such a good vibe. Like I ran into my uncle and like my dad's friends and then like people I went to high school with. Like it was such a good vibe. And I was like, I love this. So I started going, my friend and I, the one that had got me into training with Kyle, Sarah, we started going to watch Kyle compete in shows just because we became friends with a lot of the strongman athletes locally and stuff. And we started going to watch the strongman shows. And then Sarah and I thought it was just like the coolest thing ever. I was like enthralled in like how amazing it was. And then we would watch the women compete. And I was like, holy shit, like these women are amazing. Like that's what I want to be. But I had the worst anxiety in the world. Like I'm like, I can't get up in front of people, like it's not gonna I can't do it. And my friend Sarah ended up competing. So like crowds are scary. I remember my first comp, I was like, Kyle, can I like do all of my lifts facing the other way so I don't see the crowd? He's like, wow. I mean, he's like, you'll have your ass facing everyone the whole time. So if you want them, and I'm like, oh.
When I did Highland Games, I did the same thing. And I was wearing like a pink bodysuit and danced unicards because I got thighs for days and like drumstick legs. So I know that's a lot of thigh for some people. They're not ready for that shit yet. So, but like I had my Lido skirt rate and I fucking didn't realize how much ass action people were getting till like after someone complained, some old granny's like, that's a lot of booty, you know, and it's like, hey, you know what? Fuck you, first of all. Second of all, it's a tilt. What do you think is going to happen in the wind when I got a big ass? I'm not a dude, okay? So it's just hard on my hips, okay? God damn it.
Yeah, deal with it, lady. Enjoy it. You're
Why are you even
welcome for
here?
the show.
Why are you here? Go eat
Yeah.
some tea and crumpets. Get out of here.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah,
so like
yeah,
I did the same thing because my anxiety was so like intense. Like I could not look at people because
yeah,
also my whole life I had like negative voices and like haters in my head from my childhood. So that shit would get into my head. So the biggest
yeah,
thing for me was just the mental game of being mentally present in the gym when you're training, mentally present competing, and the crowd and all those thoughts. That's two things, and you can get fucking hurt. You can maim
yeah.
yourself, right? So I did the same thing. That was the hardest part about my first strongman competition too. Was like guys, that's what's just staring. Because even if
Yeah.
they're like not even hate on you, they're just fucking looking at you. You're like, oh god, you know.
Yeah. Like they're out there cheering for you and supporting you,
And you're
but it's
still like,
scary.
anxiety. So it's like it really
Yeah.
tests your belief in yourself, right? Like your real
Yeah.
confidence. Because anyone can be like, gym selfie, you know, but because of Photoshop, I'm so sick and tired of that Photoshop. I watch
Yeah.
too much TikTok. So it's right
I
there.
love it.
So yes, so like when you actually have to do it in real life without the Photoshop and with possible pee on the floor and grunts and
Yeah.
farts and everything. I mean, shit, like you have to be the real boy, like the real man.
Yeah.
Get
I
out the
still
real
remember
sausage.
I still remember the first time I peed with a deadlift, and I like I'm new to all this stuff, right? And I think it wasn't until I pulled, what did I pull that day? 330 maybe, the first time I pulled 330. And so I was going for a PR, and it was a PR. So I start pulling the bar, and I started peeing, and I was like, oh my God. So the bar it was like at my knees maybe. And I brought it down to the ground, and I had my hands over, and I was like doubled over going, oh my God, oh my God. So Kyle's panicking because he's coaching me, and he's like, what, did you get hurt? Are you okay? And I'm like, no, I like almost peed. And he's like, starts yelling. He's like, you never stop a PR because you're peeing. It's my fucking gym. Just let her rip on the floor, pee on the floor. I don't care. I was like, I'm so sorry.
I'm
He's like,
so
just
sorry for that.
pee.
Everything's to that beat now. Fuck, I watched the video before we had talked today, and there was like a girl who like lifted 600 pounds, and like the moment she started lifting sumo, she's like, and like the comments, because there's everybody watching her against the wall, like it wasn't a competition, she's training, and they're like, yes, good one, right? And some of the
Yeah.
comments are like, why did no one go underneath her with a bucket? Like, I mean, like, just like you know the pee's going to happen, like, but the thing
Yeah.
is, it's always like a hot topic, but who gives a shit? Like at the end of the
Yeah.
day, like you've got to train it. It's not going to happen overnight. You can wear a pad, but like, I mean, it's the same with guys. Sometimes guys fart, you know what I mean? Like sometimes you
Yeah.
start, like, it's like you're pushing, sometimes blood comes out of your nose. Like you're pushing to extremes. It's going to happen. Just get the lift, damn it.
I remember the guys telling Kyle, even he was like, at least you pee. Most of us shit when we deadlift. I'm like, yeah, right. And then I went to an out of town comp, and it was me, him, and three of the other guys from the gym. And they're all talking about how like, oh yeah, we're going to shit on the deadlift. I'm like, hilarious. Okay, whatever, guys. Sure enough, they all did. I'm like, you guys weren't kidding. They're like, no, we brought extra pants for it.
Oh my gosh. Now I know why mother yuckers don't want to do the sexy time after the gym. Because there's a lot of presbyterians. Maybe that's why they never told me and shit, because I always had to go home and shower in the locker. I'm like, you're gross, because I think locker room showers are nasty.
Yeah.
I mean, people have clean gyms, but when I started training back in the day, some nasty places. Let's not
nasty.
go. So I'm like, I'll go home stinky, because I also bike. So I'd be like, well, I'm just going to stinky biking. So I would just bike home, and the moment I get home, just strip, and then shower, and then the food, and then the cuddles with the body pillow. And
yes.
all of the body pillow. Like I get cranky if I don't have that in my warm bath because my knees hurt, and I'm like, fuck.
Oh, I live in Epsom salt baths. Like working from home has been great because when I have paperwork days, I have one of those like wooden things for my bathtub, and I will do an Epsom salt bath and do my paperwork.
Oh, yes.
I'm getting my work done. Nobody can dictate.
I have a wooden thing. I should do that. But knowing me, I'd be so comfortable laughing at a TikTok that my laptop would fall into the water.
I've gotten worried about that too, that I'm like, it's got to be at the right level.
But I mean, like for me, I've been every body weight under the sun, and I've been at different fitness levels because I've trained for different sports, I've whatever. And just having kids, like I have to be careful because of my disabilities. Like it's not a joke, mine's invisible. So people are like, you have a disability. By the way, it's like, you know what I mean? So that's why I like to get specific, because to each their own. Like you have to work within your own biomechanics, because that's very important. because a lot of people watch Instagram or like a personal trainer isn't like a specialist in like biomechanics and alternating adaptive movements, and they're like the standard push-up type personal trainers, and it's like you have to understand that like you need to not make yourself injured and work
Yeah.
within your body. Like I know how to do a lot of different exercises. There's a lot of things I can and will do and want to do, and we'll get there. But I know with the current way my body is sitting and where weight is in certain parts of my body that certain movements are kind of stupid. So when I talk about overcoming challenges, everybody has different biomechanics, different work schedules, work days. Like I'm a mom, I can't fucking train and walk 5K, 10K a day and then fucking be in the gym 5 days a week with like 4 hours of sleep. I'll die. Like I can't lift
Yeah.
heavy and do that. So you need to know, like, especially for strength sports, you need to have that active recovery. You need to have that, active rest. And really, like I said, customize it around you. So you obviously did that to get where you are. I mean, you had coach, you had programs. That's a huge part of success, and the environment, the community around. But like something like you talked about how you pivoted to that change, but when you said, oh, hey, by the way, not only am I now like a personal trainer, Pilates instructor, I'm going to go compete as a heavyweight. Like that's another. So we talk about body image with women, right? Because we get so stuck in like, and men too, in lifting this, I see this a lot on the threads, right? It's like, nah, I can only do this because I'm a lightweight. Like, yeah, sometimes, but not always. Like a lot of the middleweights are coming out and they're fucking smashing heavyweights, and I'm going to piss some people off, and I don't care. And I'm not saying that you're a heavyweight because you don't do a lot of cardio, okay? No one get butthurt. I'm not saying that because that's not true. I'm just saying that because of genetics sometimes, and sometimes just training, a lot of middleweights are coming out and whooping some ass, even with males, right? And the strongman shit, because they're really focused on the cardio game. So because I had a baby, I'm not going as heavy with my lifts, and I'm doing a shit ton of cardio, not to lose weight, because I know it's not going to lose the weight, but because I'm like, okay, I can do my endurance, I can do my auxiliary, get that fucking solid, because I have the genetics to gain strength and mass really fast, and then go fucking hard once that's all balanced, right? On the heavyweight. So, you are overcoming the challenge of going to middleweight to heavyweight. Talk to me about that, like why you decided to do that, how you train differently to get you there. And just like, because this is a process, right? So obviously every time you reach a certain step or milestone, you had to change something in your diet and nutrition. So yeah, walk us through that.
Yeah. So it was a big change too, because initially, like I had trained for weight loss, like that was my main goal. And then I fell in love with the sport. I saw a local comp come up, and there was one that I thought about signing up for, then I whipped out of. I did, oh gosh, my light. I did ooh, no, my
I
ring
like
light.
your skin color in that. Ooh.
Oh, thank you. I know it's a good hue. It's a good hue.
I mean, you're beautiful. Now you're extra beautiful because you've got that Photoshop.
It's the lighting. It's the lighting.
It's all in the lighting. So I did an experiment. I called my uncle and I was like, hey, look at this without my ring light. He's like, oh shit, you should put that back on. I'm like, you fucker. But at least he's honest.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Anyways, you were saying.
Yeah, no problem. So like I had trained for the weight loss, and weight was a big thing. Like I was bullied for weight when I was younger. I fluctuated a lot. I did wrestling in high school and got skinnier. Then I went back up because I was partying too much. So weight and weigh-ins and stuff like that for a little while was a really tricky thing for me. So I had competed in middleweight when middleweight topped out at it was 69 kilos, 153, 154, something like that. So my body weight after all my weight loss would sit not very far above that. So I was able to water cut, and I did fine. And then moving into my second year of competing, my weight cuts by the end of the season were really hard. And a lot of that was I built muscle mass. Like I don't have the weight to lose. And that was such a mind fuck for me, really, for lack of a better term, because then I'm thinking like, well, I did it last year. What does this mean about my body weight? I've always been hard on myself. Why can't I do this kind of thing? Why am I losing so much energy? And I did a couple of open shows that year and didn't have to weight cut and felt so much better.
See, this is what I'm trying to say. It's like heavyweights and middleweights are so fucking close because it's genetics. It's genetics, muscle mass, it's height. So it shouldn't, you get to a certain weight and it shouldn't fucking matter. And I feel like it should just be open because, sorry, continue. It's just something I'm really passionate about. It's like,
no, yeah, I get it.
Because it's the same with boxing, right? Like there's so many guys who like are fucking making themselves sick and doing permanent damage. Same with sometimes bodybuilding because like I know every fucking personal trainer bodybuilder hates the word genetics, but it's true though. It's like
Oh yeah.
sometimes you're making yourself way too thin with water cutting, and you do that a lot as long-term health consequences. Like it's no fucking joke. I mean, it's good
Yeah.
for the mind, right, in terms of mind training, but for the body, not so much, right?
Yeah,
In
like
terms of
especially in our
long-term health and longevity.
yeah, and
Sorry.
especially in our
Yeah.
sport. No, sorry, in our sport, there's so many different ways to get that mental training too, right? Instead of
Yeah.
having to endure that hard water cut, we'll endure a hard medley. Like
Yeah,
we
you don't need
decide
to
to
stop
do.
in the desert crawling on fucking sand. Like
Yeah,
I'm thinking of
let's pull a
Gollum. Like
truck.
this
Woo.
is like a ring he's for like he's craving food, but he's like my precious, and he's just like crawling
Yeah.
through, reaching for a donut and shit. But no, it's the same thing with like when you do strongman, you need a certain amount of carbs and like. And as
Yeah.
a woman versus a man, and the way that understanding insulin and understanding
Yeah.
your resting metabolism and diabetes, you could be skinny and fit and get diabetes. So it's like very important for people to monitor that stuff and not be so fucking focused on like hitting weight. And I think that's something in the strongman needs to change. And I think everybody should compete in open. Like that's what I'm
Yeah.
challenging myself. I'm trying to get down to middleweight, not because I'm like, oh my God, I want to be like so like it's because I know I have that potential either way, right? And it's just
Yeah.
about how serious I want to be, how much effort I want to put in. Both is
Yeah.
effort, both is hard, right? Doing a shit ton of cardio, heavy lifting, but for me personally, like I want to see what would happen if I went against these middleweights because they're fucking. You guys are kicking ass, man. Like
Oh,
you're
there's so many
climbing.
flying
Well,
out.
a lot. That's what I'm trying to say. Like
Yeah.
up and coming is middleweight class for men and women.
Yeah.
So
And like especially like some of my idols like coming into Strong Woman were like looking at um Kim Dirks, she's a middleweight athlete, freaking amazing. Leafa Ingalls typically
yeah,
competed in that area. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Allison Lockhart did as well, and they are amazing. Then you look at Melissa Peacock; she is unreal, like amazing from day one. Her strength and yeah, it's just she's one of my Canadian idols for sure, and like you see a lot of the strength coming out from those athletes. Like it's about finding that weight that works for you in your biomechanics, like we were talking about, or that weight, like, because being on all over the spectrum with it, I found where my body performs best at certain weight levels. So like when I was
yeah,
cutting down
exactly.
by my second year, it wasn't a huge weight cut, but it was enough of a weight cut that it wasn't okay. So I finally decided, I'm like, you know what, there was the light heavyweight category, which was, I believe at the time, like 154 to 175. So I'm like, I'm going to compete in light heavyweight next year. And light heavyweight had pro opportunity. And when I started, like lightweight and middleweight didn't. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do light heavyweight. I'm going to take my shot at my pro status. This is what I'm going to do. And then prior to the next season starting, they changed the weight classes. So we were more in line with the States and with the Arnold. So now middleweight is 140 to 180. So I was like, okay, perfect. I'm just going to do middleweight. And then again, heavyweight was the only opportunity for a pro status. So prior to the season starting, I had stuff happen in my personal life. Felt like I had to prove myself, and I had spent so long being so focused on the weight thing, and I was scared to think of competing up because I didn't want to put on the weight for it, because that's my body complex, that was my body image issues.
Yeah.
But at the beginning of that year too, I did bioprint analysis of like my hormone analysis stuff and my body weight and body fat percentage, and I was sitting at 175, but my body fat percentage was the best that it had ever been, the lowest it had been at a healthy rate. I was performing strong. My lifts were all going up.
Oh, exactly. This is why like weight
Yeah.
divisions are so fucking problematic.
Yeah.
Like I think that they need to cut down, and I don't know, whatever. I just like you, because because then I worry once again with pro strong women and going into like them getting to disordered eating, right?
Yeah.
That's where, because the competition level, right, where you start to fuck with things. And I'm not judging. I'm saying when you start to fuck with stuff with steroids, you have to be careful. You really do.
Yeah.
And especially if you're not having that, you've followed up with your GP, really not checking your, like everything you just mentioned there, your blood work, all that. So it's like, it's not, to me personally, it's not worth it, right? Like, to sacrifice your health, like for a trophy. Like because I personally I have kids, I want to be around a long time. But it's like if your bio, everything comes back good, then all that mattered. But right before I got pregnant with my second son, I was sitting at 310 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a size large. Okay. So I was a size like 12. So that's pretty fucking good. But by BMI is like, oh shit.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like I'm fine. I know. Right. But my point is like the whole time I was pregnant, they were obsessed. Like they were completely, the doctors completely trying to prove that I was diabetic or my baby was, and they're not. I'm not. Yeah. I'm fucking healthy than I was when I was half the size. Does that mean it limits me? Yes, it does. It limits me in terms of dads. It limits me in terms of cardio and all that stuff. I have to, and that's where it's at for me, right? Like I have the endurance. I have the cardiovascular strength. I don't lose, I don't pass out. I could run for, like, I could move for a long time. Mm-hmm. But it's because that's just like all my entire life of being active, right? But at the same time, I personally like to do other things in strongman, so I train my body. Some people don't, right? And that's what I'm trying to say. It's like, it's so important when you're talking to your coach or personal trainers, be really specific about all the things you want out of your lifestyle in the short term and the long term, because like, you know what I mean? If you want to have kids, you want to have babies, like people understand when you have babies, you have to be physically fit. Okay. I'm sorry, you do. If you want to take I know, but people get triggered though, but it's the fucking truth. If you want to go to the park, swim with your kid, take them in a raft and raft them, you need upper body strength. You want to bike with them for hours, you need cardio. You want to rollerblade beside them, you want to push, I'm sorry, you got to pull a wagon with your kids in it and all their shit. You need cardio. Exactly. So like you have to take care of yourself, and you know what I mean? And if you don't, you won't be able to do it. So that's just how I look. That's how I kind of program my plan, my stuff, my life is around that, right? Versus like, superficial shit. At the end of the day, if someone calls me out on Instagram, I'm like, lick my butt. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like I would get so focused on it and stuff. And like, it was hard, like, because I put on my winter fluff and stuff and I would beat myself up for it and everything. And I've been able to switch my mindset through Strong Woman to such a positive body image. Like right now, am I sitting somewhere where I really want to be? Not exactly. Do I want to kind of shave some things off? Absolutely. But a lot of it is because I can feel my body not operating the way that I want. It switched from so much of I don't like the way my body looks to my body does not feel optimal either in my lifting or in my personal life. Therefore, I want to make these changes for my health. And it was such a wake up call when I realized that that's why I'm looking at wanting to change things about my body. Like, because normally before it was, I would beat myself up for the way that I look. And then I had to start to think like, I don't look at my friends like this. I don't think these negative things about my friends. Why am I thinking them about me? Why am I getting so caught up on the weight thing? So, like I grew up self-conscious about having my big Italian thighs. Now I'm like, and my big calves. I'm like, there are people in our sport that kill to have big calves. I love my big thighs, my powerful legs, not my, like I'm starting to celebrate those things. And whoop, whoop. Whoop, whoop. I'm all about the whoop, whoop.
That's our theme song. Whoop, whoop, whoop,
whoop. I love it.
We had a car and we're just cruising around. Oh my God. I wish we were high school together. But anyway, so we had a quick little interjection here before I go farther into starting to get deeper, getting personal. So yeah, people listening up, we have an amazing group called Strong Women of Canada. All of our guest speakers now, in the future, past and present, they're on there. And it's really cool is that portal and Facebook group is for you to ask questions and get specific answers. I know there's other groups, but ours is awesome. So yeah. Anyways, whoop whoop. Beep, beep.
I'm the hype girl. I'm the hype girl.
I need you in my house like every day. I'm like sitting there at like night trying to work out, and like all I can think about is sushi and macaroni, and I'm like, oh, I gotta fucking lift weights, and then and my bed's like, no, you want to touch me, you want to be with me. I'm like, shut the fuck up, bed. I'm trying to accomplish amazing shit with my life. Don't you fucking stand? Anyways, and
I'll be there going whoop whoop.
Whoop, whoop. Just record that every time
I'll make an app. I'll make an app, yeah. Then you just press the button. All you hear is whoop whoop, and then you're like, oh, I'm gonna go.
Well, I'll just call you and hang up just so I can hear it. Put in your voicemail or something. I don't know.
No, I'll just answer whoop whoop, and you'll be like, thank you. Click.
Yeah, exactly. That's all I needed today.
I know exactly what you needed, girl. What you called.
Yes. So you guys, what we're doing on the Facebook group is, I am putting up strongman DIY equipment. So I'm making equipment, all for all you fuckers, out of sand, out of metal, out of wood, okay, and all these experimental things off ideas I found on Facebook and Google and beyond. And I'm too lazy to do math properly because I have dyscalculia. So it'll either work or not work out. But listen, if I can make shit with this brain, you can make shit. Okay. So there's gonna be those tutorials, and I'm gonna post them on the YouTube. Okay. So you can find our channel on TikTok, on a Facebook, by looking up Panda Strong Podcast. Okay, that's it. And also, every month we do monthly fitness challenges that are kind of me and the guest speakers. We talk about it. They do like the hard, or I do the easy, or vice versa. And we want you guys to do those challenges because I want to give you free shit. All right, like supplements and gear and motherfucking money. Okay, right now I have a $50 Visa card up for grabs, and all you have to do is like record yourself doing it, tag us in it. If you don't want to do the TikTok because you own shit and you're scared of China, I don't know why. TikTok's the shit. Anyways, on TikTok, on the Instagram, whatever. Okay, just tag Panda Strong Badcast. And if you want to train like a badass panda like us, all you have to do is follow our Spotify list. I got two. I got one that's Train Panda Strong Strength and Train Panda Strong Cardio for this cardio games. And I am doing a virtual walk challenge to raise money and awareness about bullying, to prevent bullying to kids and kids with disabilities. So if you want to join my team, Panda Strong, it's all on the face now. I want specifics, girl. Now, what did you do? What did you change in your diet, your lifestyle, in your exercises to get there? Now, I know you incorporated the Pilates, but obviously there was different, like not just that you weren't exercising until you are, but like nutrition. What are just the smaller things, like daily habits, not the big, like we all know everyone eats the chicken breast, okay? So type of thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was a lot. Like it was such a huge shift, especially going onto a meal plan when you were in an Italian family and you have family dinners once a week. My poor Nona and my Nono trying to understand that I could not have the pasta. So there were some major changes, like in terms of the training aspect, but even in my daily life, like with my meals, like in the main part of my weight loss, we cut out carbs. And for the first 14 days was, it was close to keto sort of, but a little bit different. And there was a certain amount of fats that I could have, protein, veggies, and just kind of stuck with the kind of stuff out, took all the carbs out for the first little bit. For first 14 days, absolutely nothing. I wanted to die by day 7. It was horrible. I'm a bread fiend. I love beer. It was horrible. And then, but that was the other piece too, was reducing my drinking, reducing my partying, taking those unnecessarily calories out. Not saying that I didn't, but I would sneak out my Coors Light here and there and try to hide from my coach if we were all get together.
I feel like the way that you talk sometimes in your face, like I feel like you could be one of those gypsy sisters. Like, especially like reference partying and being Italian. Like I envision you all fucking bling down the club with your little like short dress, cocktail dress, is super tight in your high fucking heels, like barely move. And you're like, yeah, this is my jam. Yes.
This is my song. I was always that. I couldn't do the short skirts and dresses first of all. I'd probably have the JJ out at some point if I was drunk enough, unfortunately. Not on purpose, just because I'm very like I'm very like all over the place and woo and jumping around, and it would happen.
I'm very thankful that back in the day people did not have smartphones with good camera quality, because some of the shit I did in my 20s, like I started going to clubs because I always looked older because I had big boobs and big ass and big thighs, right? They worked for me when I was 15. So I was going to club 15. So by the time I turned 21, I was like, oh, like I was really bored with it. I was like, I want to make a business. I want to make money. But anyways, I used to wear like the shortest ass skirts that barely covered my butt. I remember I'd walk around and be like, is this covering my bum? And there was so much ass. And yes. So anyways, I flashed the neighborhood, and I was very proud of my flashy days. Now, I'm like, girl, you dress like a little hooker, you know? Like, shit. Now I get a little bit of calf out, and all the old ladies in my neighborhood are like, whoo, that calf, girl, put that calf away. I'm like, you like it? You want to see it? Want to take pictures? You want to measure it? You know? Now you walking in like the big bitch, you know? Stephanie. You know, it's weird saying my own name to about, someone else. It's just
Yeah, building that like body confidence stuff that now I'll do like the skirts and everything like that. I'm like, okay, I'm good now. But oh gosh, now I'm trying to remember what the changes.
Right, changes.
The changes, yeah. So the changes, I made a lot of like, it was the meal thing was the huge piece for me and stuff too. And then we started incorporating in the supplements as we needed later on down the road. Like if we hit a plateau, we started changing things here and there, taking supplements out, putting them back in, and then started slowly. I would have my cheat meal once a week. So it was every 7 to 10 days I would have a cheat meal. And oh gosh, it was great. Half the time I would save that and be like, I know I'm going to Nona's house on this day and that pasta is calling my name. So that's where I'm going. It was like, if I knew what I wanted for my cheat meal, and like I would have get-togethers with like my mom and my aunts and them, and they would say, hey, we're having this tonight. If I'm like, I have to bring my own food. I have had my heart set on pizza for the last week. If I don't eat pizza, I'm going to be grumpy pants. So you guys enjoy your other food. I'm eating pizza.
Smash people with chairs and like
I get
meatballs
hungry
at them and smash
right.
plates.
I always have meatballs in a fanny pack just so I can whip them at people.
Oh my God, where's that from? Like Napoleon Dynamite, when he's got like tater tots or something. And
yes, taters.
Oh, the wedding singer, when Adam singing with that old lady, and she's like,
and she pays him in meatballs.
Yeah.
My heart, I love that movie.
I know, me too. Do you really want to hurt me? Do you really want to see me cry?
Oh my God, so good.
So
yeah, so I did a lot of like the meal changes, and then I did all the meal changes and then walking too, like making sure I'm getting steps in. And I started hiking. Even like I would always do like little hikes. I love being outdoors. I'm in Northwestern Ontario. What else do you do? So I started going on big hikes, and like we hiked the Sleeping Giant, like me and one of my friends. So I'd go on 28K hikes and different things like that. And it was just the full lifestyle change and having the drive and the motivation and building my confidence, and away I went.
I'm thinking of something so funny, but if I talk about it, I'm getting in trouble. So I'm just going to keep it to myself. For off camera, it's for the bloopers later. But yeah, I mean, it's those little increments, right? Like, having this baby and a C-section fucking hurt, man. And like just walking my son to school, which is a 2K like round trip, like it was so fucking hard. I couldn't even do it every day. And I'd cry, and my husband would have to take him to school because I just couldn't do it. And so to do a 13K the other day was like, fuck me. You know what I mean? Like in 6 months. And it's those little bit extra every day, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And then all of a sudden you're a completely new human. And people really underestimate like the little things. They always want to make like extreme changes right away. And you don't, and I like, once again, if you're heavyweight or you're older, like you're a master's athlete, like take your time. Like the thing is like the sport's going to be here. If you keep training, you'll have your glory moment, right? And so you don't have to try to be the biggest, best, the strongest. Like that's not the sport. Do you know what I mean? Like there's no age cap, right? So it's like get there when you get there. Just like try to get there, And there's no loss, right? Because I mean, nothing but positive comes from strength training. Nothing but positive.
Yeah.
Like as long as you're not injuring yourself all the time.
Oh God, that's where I'm at right now. But we're trucking on through.
I'm the queen of like spraining my ankle when I'm pushing the stroller, because I'm trying to push the stroller and like look around, and then like there's like I'll trip over like a rock or like gravel, and I'm like, ow! I'm like, what a duck! And I just keep walking, and I'm like, oh, my foot hurts, So I do that all the time, and sometimes I almost wipe out. But anyways, like I got the stroller to catch me, and sometimes I'm like, it's usually when you see a hot guy and you're like trying to walk all cute, and then you're like, oh shit, a tree.
Story of my life. I have no game.
Yes, I have. I don't like. And that guy's like, it's like he's like, how you doing? And even when I was really skinny and hot and shit, and I'd be like, the squirrels, like you don't know how to take a compliment. And they're like, hey, and I'm like, are we bros or are we wanting to sleep together? Can you clarify? Because not. I don't
I
don't
can't
know.
read. I don't know what's happening. I can't read this situation.
I can when I'm not in it. Like, it's for everybody else. But
Yeah.
it's like,
Oh yeah.
because like my friends are always dudes as a kid. Like, I don't. It's just like I have such masculine energy that when I'm around like equally masculine energy, I go to the extreme where I'm just like, ha, blah, 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 like a 12-year-old girl with a crush. Like, I can't be human. He's got to be slightly ugly. That's the only way he can be functional.
Curb that a
Not
little bit.
ugly. Yeah. You're too sexy. It will never work.
Yeah.
I need to be able to yell at you sometimes, otherwise you'll never be accountable. So, oh my God, I understand this already attacking me. I can feel it coming. So, shit. It was all good. I had a good podcast going. Anyways, so what are the movements you do to train for strongman to build progressive, consistent strength?
Question mark. I'm trying to think of specific ones because I always find that like this is just in training in general, or are we still talking Pilates or?
I'm talking about everything that you do that makes you the fabulous badass bitch that you are, girl.
Yoke runs. I love yoke runs. Sorry. Yoke is my favorite. So I credit everything to that. I did pick up 700 pounds and walk at 8 feet once. So
Oh my gosh. That's
yeah. So I'm trying to think like of specific ones. Like I think it just like working on the basic movements. Especially for strongman, working my squat, my deadlift, and my overhead, and whatever accessory that I need to do at the time based on where my body's at. Like I know I've had issues where if we notice my back surrounding my deadlift, because that's one of my deadlift is my Achilles tendon a lot. Like I've been stuck at a 445 deadlift for a little bit right now, and I have hip issues that are impacting that. But just taking a look, okay, where is my form breaking? And then that is the exercise that I will focus on to fix it. Doing a lot of good mornings and heavy good mornings to kind of fix my squat to translate into my deadlift, front squats, lunging, any type of lunging just seems to work out so well, and getting that unilateral work. That's a big thing that I notice specifically for my body, and it benefits everyone, but the
train like
unilateral
a robot. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing. Like I always, because I used to teach cheerleading, gymnastics, I'm always thinking about like you have your strong, exterior compound movements because you have your inners, right? So it's like you don't want to always just be like tricep bar, right? Or like it's always it's so robotic and boxed, right? Like you have to flow.
You got to change. You got to move into the different planes of movement, because if we just stick so forward and back, side to side, especially in a sport like strongman, like that, you're not always going to be moving like that. Like, yes, you want the safe movement patterns. Absolutely. You want to be strong in those positions. You want to try to execute the technique appropriately, but there are some situations in a certain event that something could suddenly happen and you're not in that normal frame of movement, and you need to be able to adapt in that moment and be ensured that your body has the strength to do what it needs to do. Like if you're deadlifting and you have to hitch it, you have a high chance at kind of throwing out your low back if you're not strong in that area while you're hitching, right? If you know what I mean.
No, I understand.
Yeah. Or like when you're doing a circus dumbbell press, you're lean to the side, right? And getting your body under it. That's not a normal plane of movement that you're working in, where you're pressing up, you're leaned over, there could be twisting and stuff. So you want to work a lot of those deep stabilizers. And when I kind of get into the Pilates and the core strength and the unilateral work and the dumbbell work and almost like a hypertrophy style training.
That's what I'm trying to say. Is like when I first started with strongman, I went back to what I'm doing now. Same thing. It took me 4 years to get ready because I was pretty maimed from my first baby too. So because I was paralyzed from that baby, I fucking literally had to rebuild my body from the ground up. And I literally started with just basic stretches and movement with a 2-pound weight over my head. I'm not even shitting you, with dumbbells. And then, I can't remember, it would take too much time to explain the timelines perfectly, but then like 9 months later, then I started moving with resistance bands, and then whatever months later, 3, 6, whatever it was, and it was dumbbells. And then it was like, okay, well, I'm going to start doing compound lifts, but with machines, right? So it's assisted, it's safe. And then it went back to, okay, well, I'm going to work with that kind of weight, but with like pull cables, right? And then I started to touch barbells, and then I started to do heavyweight. Before I did heavyweights and barbells, I was like, okay, I'll do a bit of barbell, but I'm going to still do a bit of the like you slowly transition out. I still did the compound lifts and the system machines. I moved into sandbag and kettlebell movements, and then I moved it into more after I got the swinging, those hinges right. Then I was like, okay, I'll start lifting heavier weights, and I still did a bit of like dumbbell stuff, but not much. Then it was completely off of that, and it was strict like compound, and then just auxiliary assistant lifts, which you don't have a lot of time for, and then still made a bit of cardio, and then it turned into, okay, just focus on the strongman, like the compound lifts, a bit of auxiliary, and focus now on the endurance aspect of strongman and those events. So that was a progressive of 4 years, just like when you start 2015. So that's what I'm trying to say is like, I really feel if people focus, like new people listening in, focus on doing all of those things, learn what bodybuilders know, learn what powerlifters know. Like you need to learn those sciences, take your time. And I'm not saying don't compete within that time. I'm just saying like, don't be trying to, who cares if like there's no such thing as failing or losing a strongman, because all it is like better technique and learn experience when you do compete. And so anyways, I mean, don't neglect those. Say.
No, and I was going to say, and it's just so important for them to understand as well that, and it's something that I teach my clients quite a bit. And like like when Kyle was coaching me, and now Emily Morin's my coach, and Antoine, and with the Beast Club, love it, whoop whoop. And they're very similar too in. Yes, we do that progressive building up, like starting here and then building there, and understanding that throughout the year you're training in so many different phases. You're going to have and not even just off season and on season, but depending on the comps you have, depending on how much time between shows you have, you're going to be competing in different phases. So there are going to be times that I'm ramping up to heavy lifts, and then I'm going to come back down and work at 50% and then 55% and then 60, and just focus on the mechanics and the heavy auxiliary work and all of my accessory. Even in my program, like even if I'm ramping up to something heavy, we still have such a mix of my compound lifts, and then making sure there's unilateral stuff, making sure that I even still have band work in there, resistance band work, just to keep working those stabilizers. We have core stuff in there. So you're gradually progressing, but you're not fully, I think for health and safety for an athlete, you don't always want to move away from those beginning stages stabilizer workouts and stuff. And some people find it as like, oh, it's on my program, but I didn't really do it. Like I just do my compounds and that's it. But that's going to be the literal make or break of your body.
Well, okay, but the thing is like people need to understand, because they see Instagram and they freaking mix all these things up. Okay, power lifters are not Olympic lifters. They do not do all those complex movements. Sometimes they do. Some do train in the gym. Okay, I'm not saying they don't, but I'm saying like. And I'm not talking the crazy. I'm just saying, like, Olympic lifters do a lot more movements, complex movements with heavy weights, like, a CrossFitter. But the biggest thing with strongman, like you said, is that endurance, cardio endurance, and then hypertrophy. Like, people don't understand that. It's like you max the shit out of your CNX system sometimes with the order of events, right? Like if you're doing car deadlift, and then you're pulling the fucking truck, and then you're doing like farmer's carry to sandbag carry, and you're doing this all like one after the other, like you've got to get that weight up fast, and you've got to go. And it may not be aligned on your body in the best way, and you're just trying not to drop it. So you have to be able to push it's not just even a mind game, a cardio game. It's like you literally have to that's why, I remember when I first started training for strongman, I was like, why the hell does my program have like 20 reps? What the fuck is this? I was like, this is not like,
this and is cardio lifting.
I was like, I push my ones all the time. Yeah. And it's like what's it always, again, never compromise techniques. So you get to certain strength, and you're like, okay, well, if I'm not progressing in strength, then I need to go back to hypertrophy, right? I need to go back to like endurance in my muscles and endurance in the cardio. And guaranteed, then all of a sudden when you go back and hit that weight, you'll get a gain. If you don't, then you still need to go back and do more, like, you know what I mean? And then you'll get there. And sometimes it's just movement and breathing and bracing for sure. But
But when you
Yeah.
dial back and take those deload weeks and those
Yeah.
moments to break down technique and form and do the 20 reps and do this at lighter weights, then you start to realize, okay, this is my opportunity to fix the bracing issues, to fix the technique. Because it's really hard to introduce and implement and fix a new technique if you're pushing yourself to maxing out on, threes or doubles or singles all the time without taking that time to step back, build the movement pattern, build your body's reactivity capacity. That was a big thing that I had to do because I've had a lot of things that we've worked on fixing. Like I was highly criticized a lot for my back rounding on my deadlifts, but I've never had a back injury related to my deadlift. Yes, there's the pain and there's the soreness and all that kind of stuff. And it's obviously something that I didn't want to do. But in a comp with strongman, or strong woman, you need to do what you got to do to get that lift up. You need to do what you got to do in that moment. It's the make or break of where you're going to place. If you know that it's not going to affect your placing, you can dial back a little bit. But if you know that you're gunning for that podium spot, you're gunning for that pro status, you're gunning for whatever. If I have to round my back on a deadlift, I'm going to round my back on a deadlift. But
well, that's what I'm trying to say. Like,
yeah,
it's
when
like
I
it's like
train,
powerlifting. Like that's what people
yeah,
need to understand. Like the
I'm not going to
technique.
get a no lift, right? Like,
Yeah,
unless I don't
exactly.
lock it out.
Well, exactly. And the thing is like, what was I gonna say about? Oh yeah, I just think of cats every time someone says bend back. But so like the thing was, is I was always training regular deadlift. My husband's 6'7". I'm like, wait, no, is he 6'9"? One of those two. I don't know. My brain's dark. But anyway, 6'7". And so, but we have the exact same torso length, and I'm 5'9". So
Yeah.
that's quite significant, right? So
Yeah.
I have a long torso. So because my tits were literally over my knees. So
Yeah.
I could not get, it was almost near impossible for me to get into a proper technical position
Yeah.
with my big tits and ass and my belly from the babies. But just because of my torso length, 1000% in a regular deadlift. So as soon as I started fucking sumoing, I'm like, oh, all of a sudden, technical clean lifts, boom. And it's
Yeah.
because I have long fucking arms and long legs, but my torso is like ridiculously long. And so
Yeah.
I have to sweat. I have to literally bend into myself and put my ass almost not even flat down, but like into it, like in towards my knees because of my
Yeah.
torso length. And then it's like, that's not, so I'm not able to engage like toe out, right? You're
Yeah.
in the flow. So I was like, okay, if I sumo, then I'm, yeah. Anyway, so it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's good to have someone look at your body and figure what the hell is going on instead of just like
Yeah.
banging your head against the wall. And so on that subject, looking back at the past 6 years of your weightlifting, your weight loss, your strongman journey, and your obviously your journey as a personal trainer, and taught a lot of clients. You've got your Strong Fit program, which we'll put the information for us. So you guys can get in touch with her, especially from the area. Highly recommend her. She's an amazing human. She's an amazing athlete and teacher, and I love her so much.
Thank
So we'll put
you.
that on the screen. Your webcam. So what would you do differently now, looking back? Now that you got this experience, like for someone who's in your position, maybe like a heavyweight girl, like you or me starting out with no experience, and especially let's just say
Yeah.
she doesn't have the money or doesn't have, she's in an area where there's not a lot of strongman supports, and maybe virtual isn't for her, and she's trying to hammer this out on her own. What would you do differently? Pro tips.
Well, and I think like if I were to go back in the exact same position I was where I started, despite any kind of struggles or setback or mental barriers or physical barriers that I faced, I don't think there's much that I would change for my own personal journey because it got me to where I am, right? Everything happens for a reason. There's always cause and effect. Yes, there were some like horrific, you know, personal and mental health things that happen, especially like 2019 to 2020. Everything that happened made me grow, made me stronger, made me work on areas that I needed to work on for a really long time, like my anxiety, like my mental health, like my body image issues. When it comes to if I were giving advice to somebody who's in that situation with like the limited resources of people around that they can train with, the online thing doesn't work for them. One of the biggest things that I like looking at, I love the fact that we have social media now. I love that we have that because I'm constantly studying other athletes and not in a way of like jealousy, fuck, why can't I be like that or anything like that. It's they execute that really, yeah, they are doing incredible. She's executing that so well. Oh, that's interesting, the technique that this person uses. Or like for cleans and stuff, like I'm looking at Olympic lifters and the way that they do things for fixing my back rounding on my deadlift, which is like such a huge thing that like, even though I'd round my back in a comp in training, my coach would break it down with me, and my coaches now break it down with me, and we did so much to fix it, and it has been significantly improved. But the other piece of it is looking at other athletes that have similar body mechanics to me, or ones that maybe, that's a different technique that I haven't seen in the way they're setting up their hips or in their foot placement. Maybe I can try that and take that on my lightweight work days to see if it works for my body. So utilizing all of the information that's out there and the resources, and even there's some people like reaching out for those tips and tricks and stuff like that. Cause that's the other thing that I love so much about the community that we have, and especially the other strong women out there, because we're trying to pump each other up in a male dominated sport, that we're all a message away. And I've had so many conversations with other women and that will give me advice and like, hey, I was struggling with this. This is something I tried. Oh, I had a similar injury. This was my rehab. So really like utilizing those resources, don't be afraid to reach out to other women, other men in the sport. Don't be afraid to fail. Like, don't be afraid to go into a comp and feel like you don't know what you're doing, because you'll go to a comp and like I've lent my belt to people at shows, other people have let me borrow their tacky,
stuff like that. Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's amazing, like the love. And honestly, like, yeah, you know what? There's gonna be that dick, because that exists everywhere in life, but it's pretty like it's not a common thing. And also like it's not a critical environment in a negative way. Like it's good to support each other. Like when I watch, like I do the same thing to you. Like I study, that's how I taught myself too. And when I see girls who are struggling, I also because I'm a dancer, right? Because I've taught so many different physical sciences, like I can look at someone and see, I'm like, oh, I could tell, especially from like, I used to teach ballet too. From the background, I can see what muscles they're like engaging at first. And I'm like, oh, you need to use your knee more, or less knee or whatever, right? So it's those little fine tuning. I feel like we just need to make them more socially acceptable. Like we've made it socially acceptable to call each other out. We should make it just as like, instead of cancel culture, right? Like promote, embrace, like shout out culture, like all the time, right? Because like especially for women, because we don't know that if we're being noticed, we're doing enough, especially as moms, right? There's so many mom athletes doing this. Like we got so much on our plate, and sometimes some of us are not in the best marriages or best relationships, or we don't have good family or friends that support us. Sometimes when you because when you do strongman and any strength sports, right, basically it changes your whole life for the good forever. So then you have to get rid of all the toxic people and the toxic things about your life. And you shouldn't be ashamed about that. You shouldn't feel guilty, right? Like, it's like, just keep, like you said, reaching out, surround yourself with positive people. And there's no stupid question. And if you fucking post a question and some jackass, like, comments something stupid, like, tell them they're stupid. And then, like, block them. Like, that's what I do. I'm like, wow, bro. Like, really? You want an award for that? Wow.
Yeah.
So many women lined up for you right now. But you know what I mean? Like, who cares? Like, I really don't. Like, I don't care. Like, honestly, like, I care enough that I want to like meet people like you. I want to help women, and I like, that's why I'm doing this podcast. But like at the end of the day, like it's your journey, right? Like only you know what your challenges are. But like you're not an island. You said, man. You're not an island, but you come to our party island though, man. Like,
exactly. I was gonna say we got a party island and we're all allowed on it. Beep, beep.
Beep, beep.
Right? Beep, 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 beep. Good to go. Guys, bitches, we're going supporting.
If I don't see some whoop whoops and beep beeps on my social media today, you guys be mad. I want to see cars everywhere.
Right.
But actually, and if you have a nice sports star, you should find it while I live and DM me. We should go for a ride. You know what I like to do is try to fit my fat ass into little fucking sports cars. Like, I could never date a white dude who's like super skinny and has a nice fucking muscular, like, or whatever, nice car, because I'd be like, I can't see it squeeze, you know what I mean? I need men with trucks.
I'm squeezed. I know. I drive a little Jetta. Like, I have a Volkswagen Jetta. God. And yeah, my ex was like 6'4", like 300 something pounds or
Oh
trying
Lord.
to drive in that thing. I'm like, sorry. It works for me. I'm 5'4" and I'm little.
He probably look like Eddie Hall or the Pillsbury Doughboy. His head's just like stuck at the top. He's just squeezed in. Like anybody driving behind you is always laughing because there's just like this Teletubby, grizzly bear in the front seat, and this little tiny girl beside. I'm picturing it. I want to draw and post on this video. I might sell them in the merch store, you guys, the same. So anyways, one final question before we go. Gorgeous Stephanie. What would you recommend in terms of diet and exercise tips for middleweight women trying to be the heavyweight women wanting to train for the strongman strength sports? Like if you're trying to compete open or switch weight classes, you know what I'm trying to say, girl.
Yeah. So I think it gets tricky too, because then again, it comes down to different body types not being able to necessarily fit into the box. But one of the benefits that I know I had was just to really trying to maintain that endurance, that conditioning aspect. And like you said, that's why we see some of the middleweight women come out swinging, because they're not only working on their strength, but they're working on that endurance. And there are a lot of like the heavyweight women that are doing the same. Absolutely. But I learned that because I think the thing that scared me before was that I didn't want to, because of my body image stuff, put on the weight to go into that weight category. So I stuck around as a middleweight and competed up. And I'm just like, I just learned where my body feels optimal when I compete, because then I did go the other way, that I went up a little bit, because then I started thinking like the body image issue isn't a problem for me anymore. So if I gain the weight, I gain the weight. But because of my body type, when I put the weight on, I was more sluggish in my movement events, because the way that the weight sits on my body, right? Whereas somebody else could be so quick and still have that endurance. Whereas personally for me, my body is more fit in the middleweight category. So then I was like, okay, now I need to like keep up with the eating, make sure that I started working with Anthony Deal for nutrition coaching and reintroducing healthy carbs in at certain times, and understanding how to balance my macros and everything. So that's a process that has been fantastic and giving me the energy. I think the other biggest piece, though, that like the big game changer is more the mindset, because I continue to train with intensity. I envisioned those, like I would train to the numbers. I knew I was strong enough to do it. I knew I had put up the weight before. I looked at the listings of weights at shows and I'm like, I've done all those heavyweight things. Like there's nothing in there that I'm necessarily going to zero, until I look at the OSG events, because I'm there as a heavyweight, and yeah, it's scary. So for me, there's a 235 log for reps. I've done a 200-pound log. Yeah, there's a 235 log for reps, but like in heaven looking at the lineup of athletes, because I'll be sharing the competition floor with Donna Moore and Andrea Thompson, and like fangirling my life away, because these women are incredible. So even if I come in last place, the fact that I was on the competition floor with these women, like I can die happy.
Yes. Sorry, continue. Yes.
No. So then I think the biggest thing about it is the mindset, is the mentality around it, in reminding myself, like, I can do this. No, I'm going to push myself to do it. My body feels good this way. Yes, I'm at a lighter weight, but I'm going to make sure that I keep being quick on my feet. I'm going to work on, okay, like I look at a comp, like when I looked at nationals, circus dumbbell was, I don't like, I've done a 123 circus dumbbell once, but I've zeroed circus dumbbell in countless of shows. My first nationals, I zeroed an 80-pound circus dumbbell.
A lot of this sounds so fucking heavy to me because I just had a baby, but I want to add to a couple things you said. So when you talk about like thinking the weight's so heavy, you're like, what the fuck, I did this before. So I have this ritual, and I always say, like, every lifter has rituals, okay? So like I drink out of my strongman cup, right? Like you guys saw, like I showed you right here. I do that on the day that I do the lifts, right? I have my special cup. I don't have special socks, so that's gross and shit. But I wash them though. Okay. Anyways, you have rituals, right? And it's like one of my biggest rituals is I don't think about the fucking weight. And the fact that I'm bad at math is like my actual best quality because I have no idea how fucking strong I am. When I look at my logbook, it makes no fucking sense. And that's because I'm tired when I'm listening. My brain's like, I'm just a meathead. So I have no fucking clue. And that actually works for my advantage because then I may be weaker than I actually think I am. And I go to the comp and I push up my 1 rep. So it's like, don't get too obsessed with like 5, 10, 15 pounds. A lot of that has to do with like how you're feeling on a day. When you're 2 weeks out, how you're getting ready, and what you ate that day, how much you slept and shit. What's just in your body, what's in your mind, and it's like what I've always found is when I'm angry, I do better. So my kid's not allowed around because I go into estrogen and mommy mode, and I'm like, squishy, and then I can't with shit. So I like intensely fight with my husband the day before because I'm an asshole. If I'm divorced, y'all know why. Anyway, so I have my little rituals, right? So it's like this is the biggest thing. People always think it's like the weights that you've got to master. You got to master your fucking head. Everything here, everything that tells you that you suck and that you can't do it, you need to shut that up. And I also watch funny shit before I work out because it puts me in a good mood and happy music, right? So it's like, and something about ass and twerking because I like to be thick and fit, you know what I mean? So it's but it's mind training, right? It's getting your head in the game, right? It's so cheesy because I think of football like coaches, get your head in the game, son. Like
it's so true though. Like that's like the biggest thing, like getting control of my mentality, because even like my best comp season so far, obviously because last year was rough and we didn't have a lot of comps, but was able to go to nationals and conquer my fear of the circus dumbbell where I was zeroing 80 pounds at my first nationals. I did 6 reps at 105 pounds and it was like unheard of for me. I was like, I could die happy after that. But it's about like in 2019 was probably my best comp season. Like that's when I, as an amateur, competed. I earned invites. That was the first year I decided that initially I was going to do like the middleweight up to 180. And then I like went through life events and all that kind of stuff, bad breakup, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And was sorting out my mental health and finally like seeking counseling for my anxiety, taking medication for my anxiety, different things like that. And I decided, I'm like, you know what, screw it. I need to do this for me. I'm competing as a heavyweight. I can do all those weights. I want to push myself. I love this sport more than anything. I want to be a pro. So I'm going to do it. So I pushed myself, and my coach noticed that when I trained angry, I would do well. But if I was angry at myself and if I was angry,
right?
That's when I would do horrible. But if I was angry about things setting me off, so like people that I had issues with at the time would set me off like just before a session, guaranteed I'm going to hit a PR at that session. And I'm like, I don't want to live angry all the time because like outside of lifting, I'm like, I'm over this. But at the
walking pace on my Fitbit when I'm mad. But anyways, like, you should see me clean a motherfucker. My house is 3 stories. Oh my God. Anyways, I get pissed off. I don't like picking up other people's shit off my floor, okay? Because I'm big. I'm trying not to walk into things sideways, okay? I can't be looking at the floor at the same time. So like my husband leaves shit. Like I swear he must know by now. He must leave shit on the floor on purpose because like I'll fucking trip on shit and then I get all fucking mad and then I clean for 3 hours and go to the gym. I'm like, motherfucker. Anyway,
I know my coach at the time would say keywords that he knew would make me mad. I'm like,
triggers.
Like, did you catch that I said that? Like, I hate you.
It's military, right? So for 100% mind control training. But anyways, what the hell was I gonna say? So anyways, it's gone. But the basic thing and premise of this is like when I did my 13K. I wasn't fucking like, I got 6 or 3 more. I would just set a reasonable goal and on my Fitbit, and I just keep walking until my son woke up or until I was like, my legs will fall off, which whenever comes first. And then it's, you know what I mean? Also, I was like, oh shit. And today I did 12, and I'm like, oh shit. And so I did that in half the time. Yes. So I did, I don't have to look at it again. But anyways, my point is like, just like the eating healthy. So when you talk about anxiety, right, a lot of that's due to like zinc and potassium and magnesium shortages in your system. It's not in our food supply. That's fact science. So it's important to supplement certain key nutrients like vitamin K. So if you're not balanced in that, you're more prone to have high anxiety and stuff like that. I'm not saying it's always nutritionally correct. I don't want to trigger, but so it's like, what I'm trying to say is like, you have to focus on nutrition, not because you're trying to be because you have skinny or whatever, unless you're weight cutting or pro whatever. My point is just like self-love.
Yeah.
If you look into these things, take care of these things, because if you don't, and you are wanting to go pro or take these sports seriously, you won't get there unless you do. So at the end of the day, use Instagram, social media as a positive influence and a teaching tool, and don't fucking self-hate, because it's not going to do anything. Don't judge yourself if you don't get gains for 2 weeks. It's all good. It's all good. Like I was choked. I wasn't planning the second baby. Okay, I was doing the deadlift. The baby never popped out, man. Shit. You know, I was like, why am I still barfy? It's been like a month, and I was like, oh crap. Anyway, so I was training for nationals, and then I was like, I'm pregnant. I was so fucking sad because I like all these plans, but it was the best thing ever, because once again, I have this podcast. I'm like working in my body a different way. I'm learning to be in a different body again after a C-section. So all it is it's gonna make me a better trainer. It's gonna, you know what I mean? So there's positives, right? So it's like your biggest setback, your biggest comeback. We need to stop pretending we're perfect, women. We need to stop being like worrying that something bad's gonna happen, or if it does, being like, oh shit, the sky's falling. You know, like just like work with it, work around it, use it as something to just be like a part of your underdog story. And a big thing is documentation, right? Document your shit in a positive way, not just like, oh, 4,000 calories. I don't do that. I know enough about how much energy some type of food is, or how it's going to feel in my body, or whatever, that I don't sit there and like focus on it. Obviously, if I'm weight cutting a competition, that's another story, right? But at the end of the day, it's like, just feel you, just feel whatever makes you feel awesome and a badass bitch, because that's what's going to make you a good wife if you want to be a wife or a mom or whatever, or a career woman, business woman, whatever, whatever. Like, if you want to be happy in life, you need to take care of you. And that's what, to me, that's what this is all about. Strongman, you cannot not take care of you to be successful. So for me, it just brings all that in alignment. So
that's absolutely like the basis of my journey. Like there is the physical aspect, there are the accomplishments, and like I'm so grateful for them. I'm so proud of them, the people I've met, the lessons that I've learned, but the mental gains are the biggest things. Like it's been a journey, and I'll make a lot of steps forward, and then I realize how much farther I have to go. And I think just especially within the last year and a half, 2 years has been the biggest and that was like the years going into me earning my pro status, was the biggest mental shift. Even the way that I am when I go into train, and my level of focus, and like I going from walking out for the first event for my first ever comp looking like I'm gonna cry, and Kyle looks at me and he's like, can you put your game face on? I'm like, this is my game face, like I got nothing for you, like I like to now, like I remember at the Arnold, like he came to check on me backstage to make sure I was good, because he knew I was going to be up. He's like, I've never seen you this calm before an event. I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling good, until like they called the flight just before me. I'm like, oh my God, I'm feeling it. He's like, don't start that now. But the thing is, like, it's about taking that nervous energy and understanding that I'm not going to make it go away. That's who I am, but how am I going to fuel it to something positive? So that nervous energy settles in, but it takes a lot longer for it to settle in. I didn't look like I was going to cry. I had a game face on. I smiled, I waved, I congratulated the other girls. Like that lights me up. And and then I went out, and as soon as though, like I'll look at the ref, they're kind of going over the rules and things like that, like just reiterating them and stuff. As soon as that whistle blows or that horn goes or whatever it is,
whistle baby, turn
like,
me on.
like the only thing that I hear is my coach's voice and the ref giving me the up and down signals and stuff like that. And it's like everything is literally blacked out. I'm in the zone. I've got the mental focus. And now, like over the past little while, I've been finding ways to channel that even in my training sessions. Like I look like nuts. Like when I was doing 1 rep maxes a couple weeks ago, I realized I'm literally pacing. Like I pace back and forth. I've got my belt on, and I'm like, if Kyle checked the cameras, I probably look crazy, but I'm like pacing like a freaking lion, just staring at that bar, getting amped up. And the fact that now I can harness that mental aspect of it, I get chills. I feel confident that I'm like, fuck yeah, I got this, instead of thinking like, oh my God, this is gonna be heavy. We'll see if
you know what? The thing is like